Hey, Scott, this has got to be a Goonies theme situation.
It certainly has. It certainly is. I think I would be very disappointed if you didn't know it was a Goonies reference, Joe. It's quite obvious. It's quite obvious where it comes from. But yes, it's very much a Goonies reference. Um, uh, Congratulations on Bad Boys.
Thank you very much.
3 decades in, it's still going strong. It's been a huge success over the summer when cinemas have been in a bit of trouble post pandemic and the strike and everything else. Are you surprised by the success, or did you think it was going to be another big hit in the series?
Uh, I was not. I was not surprised. Is not the right word. In seeing the film, I was excited that it was so good. It's
Mm,
hard. It's hard to make good movies from successful ones. Like I think if the only time that, in my opinion, like where The Godfather Part Two was better than the first one, um, and so I thought that this fourth one was the best of the bunch, and just so much fun to sit through, watch. I went to the premiere screening, which premieres insiders understand that when you do industry screenings, everybody's sitting on their hands. They're just hoping, is Schadenfreude, wishing for the worst, wanting it to be bad, so that when people get excited, um, that it's thrilling. I remember that happening a couple of times in my career. One of them being uh, the train wreck in The Fugitive, where the entire audience stood up and cheered, and it was all in industry insiders. Same thing with Bad Boys. I mean, the action in four was just you being assaulted by it, and also the the humor of it, and the quality of the actors. Eric Dane, his his villain was just wonderful, and probably best work I've seen Martin do in such a long time. I just adored what he did, and Jacob. There was a lot of standout performances. Even uh, my daughter. Uh, I must admit, I didn't even know I had a daughter. I knew I had a granddaughter, but I after four movies, I had no idea where that granddaughter showed up, came from. So it's just a lot of wonderful surprises. So I was really happy about it.
yeah. How have the boys changed over the 3 decades that they've been doing this? Because they've obviously, when they made the first movie, they weren't necessarily as big stars as they are, now. It was kind of for both of them early in their careers in terms of films, and it was kind of one of Michael Bay's first big films. So how have you've seen them over the four films now? How have they
Well,
changed and evolved?
we've all grown up, and the humility that Martin and Will have, been the ups and downs, that we've all gone through. Um, but their dedication to the work has never faltered. I don't know, I don't know how to say that. That Will's my boss now. Will's been my boss for the last two movies. Him and Jerry. He's got his own company and co-produces the movies with Jerry um, Bruckheimer, and it's just the work is always the most important part of it, and the fun of it. It's a great job because it's not like you're building building walls or anything. It's a manual labor, but it's the departments and all of the different groups that that make a movie, um, and the kind of dedication, and from hair to makeup to set design to somebody saying action, and then in between the action and somebody saying cut, the world belongs to the actors.
I read a quote on a piece that Jerry did, and one of the quotes was that he said nobody plays exacerbation like you do. I just wondered whether you thought that was a compliment or whether
Oh, yeah, I thought it was a compliment, and not actually, it's a homage to, my father was Dominic Monk Pantoliano. He would freak out like that. So I've been doing that at exasperation. That was my dad. He would do that over a ham sandwich, or spare ribs at a Chinese restaurant. What are you doing? Look at this. There's so much meat left on that bone. Look at this. Look at this.
I know we're here to talk about Bad Boys, but I'd be remiss as a website called HeyUGuys if I didn't ask you about the Goonies, which turns, I think, 40 next year. And I had the pleasure of talking to Josh Brolin earlier in the year, and he was saying that he's kind of glad that there hasn't been a sequel because it's so pure and such a singular thing. For you guys now looking back, are you still happy
he could say that with his
obviously
money,
Dick's left us now as well, hasn't he?
I need the money. Shut the hell up, Josh. But the truth is that it's like, how do you? They don't make movies like that anymore. If it's like CGI, maybe in 5 or 10 years they'll be able to do a prequel or a sequel that only occurs 18 months later. Well, all of these characters, Joshua, Mikey, and what was Josh's character's name? Brent? I forget. Yeah. But they could all be 7, 18, 19, first year college, something happens. I mean, the future and AI as a whole unknown universe waiting for us.
Yeah. Who do you get to direct it though, given Dick's not with us anymore?
You get a Dick AI. You get an AI Dick. I got an AI Dick. It's about that long.
Oh dear. I missed that guy. Verisimilitude he was always his
he was the best. I mean, if you watch, the connoisseurs, the Goonies connoisseurs, you can still hear Dick yelling at us in some of the wild tracks in the Masters, because he had a way. He directed us like silent movie directors. He was the best. He was so much fun.
He was the best. So much fun. Oh, we love that film. So thanks for sharing. Thank you so much for your time, Joe. I really appreciate your time, and pleasure to talk to you.
Cheers. See you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys.